How's it going? This is Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative, and you're listening to Sonic Seducer. Uh, well, yeah, at the time, it was just a different way of making the record. And this was more from, going back. This was more, we were just in a room jamming and, coming up with ideas and stuff. And that just lent itself to the more, it lent itself better to an acoustic kit, doing it live, as opposed to like putting it all in, doing everything, on a keyboard, as opposed to, it just felt better doing it with a live kit. Oh yeah, a lot of it, a lot of those, you know, a lot of the songs on all the records came from us being in a room together rehearsing, and then when it came time to actually make the record, then we did all the drums at Josh's studio at his house, and we were able to, use it as a tool in a way that we can continue developing the songs even after all the other parts of the song were recorded, like the guitars and Peter's vocals and stuff. And, you could hear the song and you would hear the drum parts. For instance, say a song would be finished, for instance, Burnt Flowers, right? That song was pretty much completed, didn't like the way the drum track felt, and we were able to go in and make a bunch of changes to the drum track to make it, better for the song. And had we done that the way that we recorded Dead Again, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So we were able to use the technology to continue developing the songs right up until the very last minute. And when you do stuff with acoustic drum, it's a little more complicated than that. You can't just go in and just change up a whole drum pattern. Say we felt that something was better for the chorus in the song, for instance. You couldn't just go in and just retract the chorus. Everything would have to be all set up, all the microphones. It would be impossible to recreate the same sonic performance. When we were using samplers and stuff like that, it was very easy to go in there. You just take a part out, just erase it, put something else in, and it would sound exactly the same. And nothing else would have to be changed. So it was a pretty valuable tool. I still use stuff like that. For when I'm working on tracks now. No. When it came time to making the record, making, writing songs had nothing to do with the business aspect of, what record company was going to release the record, or things like that. They really, one didn't have anything to do with the other. Well, actually, every record that we worked on always felt like it was going to be the last record that we were ever going to do. Because, like Typo, being in Typo Negative, it always felt like the band could end at any minute. There wasn't too many points in the band's career where we felt comfortable with who we are and where we were going, or what we were about to do. There was never really too much looking that far ahead into the future. It always felt like the wheels were about to fall off the bus at any moment. Every time a tour ended, this is going back to the first tours that we did. Every time the bus dropped us off at home, we got back from the airport, we were like, I guess that's it. you know you know it was a fun run. I guess I'll just go back to work, or I'll get another job, being a mechanic, or go back to fixing cars. And then something else would happen where it was like the band would get another opportunity to continue. And well, you'd say to, I would say to myself, well, I guess, we're not, we're not done yet. And then, the years just kept on going by, and it was always that same kind of philosophy. It was like, all right, what's going to happen now? There weren't too many situations where it was like, all right, I have a little bit of breathing room, like, the band has a little bit of a future to it. It looks good for like the next, maybe year or 2 years, but that was about the extent of it. Everything else felt like every day was the last day of Typo Negative. And that it really is. That's the honest truth. It never really felt like, I never thought, from the day I joined the band, I never thought that it would be a career. And then we were still putting out records in 2007. And now it's it's 2022 and we're still reissuing things, and it surprises me all the time. The band continues to surprise me. No, actually, right, but there wasn't any new material written. At that point in the band's career, we weren't really working on new material until it was time. Like, we would schedule a time. Like, for instance, the night before Peter passed away, Kenny and I had gone to a studio near where we lived because we were looking to now rent a studio to begin working on the next record. And we had literally just found a place and agreed to it, and that we would move in on May 1st. Like, Peter died in April. We were moving in May 1st. Peter was living in Pennsylvania at the time, and Peter was scheduled to move back to New York on May 1st. So everything was getting ready to begin, the May after he passed away. And then the next day, after we found the studio, I was actually trying to get in touch with him. I was trying to call him, and he didn't answer his phone. And then I had gotten a phone call from his girlfriend the day he died. And she said that Peter was sick in bed, that he sorry, he says that he's sorry he didn't call you back. He's sick in bed, and I was just like, all right, like, just, tell him that we found a studio and we get it May 1st, and, call me when you're feeling better. And then that night I got a call from his sister saying that he had passed away. But if he had any kind of songs written or whatever, he took them with him. There wasn't anything recorded, or, we were getting ready to begin that part of the process, a couple of weeks after he had passed away. Uh, I don't know if I would ever want to do something to say, like, like, take it on the road, or like, it could never be a reunion. Peter's not there, so it's impossible to call it a reunion. I think that like, Peter's work deserves some kind of celebration. And how that can happen, I really have no idea. But we've never considered, never seriously considered anything, doing any kind of, like, reunion, or, like, putting something out there as Typo Negative without Peter. I find it, Peter, like, his musicianship, his character, and like, it without him there, you can't call it Typo Negative. No, once in a while, if I see something on YouTube, I'll click on it to, like, see it. And it's fun to go back and listen to things, but it's not really so much where I'm listening to the song. I guess it's more of the sentimental value to it, where it's like, I'll see something or I'll hear something and I'll think about that period of time, or, like, like, think about, like, like, what we were doing at that moment. It's more like looking at pictures than it is, listening to, our performances, or, like, like, listening to our songs. Uh, well, I mean, there's always that, that exciting moment of like, seeing your name on a record, like it was, something that I dreamed about from when I was a kid, and I'd like to see my name, as the, Johnny Kelly drums on, like even, like when we, like when Paranoid came out on the reissue of Origin of the Feces, that was, that was an exciting thing. And, like before October Rust came out, we did the Black Sabbath record, the Nativity in Black, and we did a version of Black Sabbath on that. Like seeing the band's name and seeing my name on there, that was exciting. And like I never really was like looking at personal accomplishments as I was shocked, I was surprised more than anything else that we were still making records. As I said before, the band always felt like it was going to end at any moment. So like anything that would happen after that was always like, that was like icing on the cake. It was like, holy shit, we managed to survive and we put out another record. And then like, like all the touring that would follow after the record would come up and be like, wow, we survived all the touring. And it's like, it looks like we're going to make another record now. And it's like, holy shit, the record actually got done. And it was like, oh shit, the record came out. And it was like, like little, like little accomplishments. And, but, you always remember your first. And so it was cool, like, like when October Rust came out, like the band was coming off of, a really good run, like we had a gold record under our belt with, the success that Bloody Kisses had. And, so now we were, there was all this, anticipation of, we were going to, what was Typo Negative going to do next? And, it was cool that we did something that, like it was more of an artistic uh venture, and we did something that was completely unexpected of us. A lot of people were expecting another like like Christian Woman or Black Number One on a track or whatever, and to continue on that path that we made, and we did something completely out of left field. And so that was kind of cool. And it seemed like we continued, looking back on the discography now, that's what we always did. It was like, a record was always like a snapshot of, what the band was at that point in time. And, looking back on it, you can have respect for it and admiration and stuff, but at the time, like when the record, like you're not really thinking about it as you're making the record. But then when the record was done and you listen to it as a whole body of the whole body of work, be like, wow, this is really a departure. And then it would like realize, then it would set in and be like, wow, we're really taking a risk with this one. And then you hope that the fans would like it, then, but you weren't thinking about that as you're in the middle of doing it. You're just doing your thing, and then the end result is what it is.